Hey guys, welcome back to my colourful country life. Today I am so very excited to be able to share with you my newest completed book, Mythic World by Kerby Rosanes. So this will be a chatty video. I am going to go through the book page by page and give you my thoughts. If you do prefer a quicker silent flip through, there is one up on my channel as well, and I will tag it either up above or down below. And if I do forget, you can still find it. I am releasing both videos the same day and the same time, so it's either going to be the video before or after this one. So my journey with Mythic World started with my first completed page, which I finished on the 28th of April 2022, and it finished with my final completed page, which you would have seen yesterday, and that was the 20th of May 2024. So this experience has been a whole 2 years of my life. 2 years, 23 days to be exact, or 754 days. This is very much on par for me as Worlds Within Worlds, which is the book that started my channel. Also took me 2 years, and some of you have been with me since that very beginning as well. As you can imagine, my colouring style has changed and grown so much over those years, and it was so much fun flipping through this book for the silent flip through and just seeing the growth and improvement, and I'm really excited to go through that in more detail with you all today. So let's get started. Now, I do have it written in the back the dates the pages were completed and what I used next to the myth information. So if I do forget, I'll just flip to the back and check. I was originally putting little post-it notes on the pages, but I found it left a sticky residue and kind of ruined the page a bit. So now I'm just writing them in the back of the book. So first up, we have our title page here, which is Medusa. Now, I colour this page with Distress inks for the background, Prismacolor pencils for all the pencil work, and I use some Sparks Aquarelle paint here for that sort of brown colour. And you can see that glitter, very fine, glittery finish. So I originally considered colouring this one as all stone, but I did feel that it wouldn't be that interesting to colour, so I ended up going for an aged look instead. Now, I do love how the background came out, and there are a few little marks you might be able to see here from something that was on the paper, and I'm not mad about it. I think it actually adds character to the aged look, natural character. So I did leave this page for so long as it just wasn't appealing to me. I was having troubles visualizing it, and all I could think of was stone. But I do love the end result, and the touch of sparkle from the paint isn't too overpowering, and I think it works really well. And next we have the nameplate pages. So this page was pretty simple in terms of colour choice, colour selection, as each of the elements are partial images from inside the book. It did take ages though, same as the publisher information pages too, just from all the different pencil changes because of all the different elements. And I did also change up some of the colours to make sure the page looked cohesive. Again, I did the same with the publisher pages too. I did kind of feel like this was a bit of a jigsaw puzzle that I was putting together with these pages, trying to remember what element was from which myth. This claw had me stumped for ages. I flipped through this book so many times before I eventually found what picture it was from. It was like a finder word, but an image version. Even this little tail here, I was having a hard time finding where that one came from as well. Now, I did decide to leave the background blank, which was a big decision for me because, as you all probably know, I don't like negative space. And I did consider doing bokeh backgrounds in either like a green or a blue, or even just like a vignette. So through here and through here with a deep green sort of for a foresty look, or even a blue because we do have water and a lot of sky. So both of those were things I was tossing up. But I did really like how much it popped without a background, and the fact that you can still see both mine and Kirby's names as well. I didn't want to have buyer's remorse, so to speak, by colouring it and then regretting it. So I decided it was time to just stop and leave the page alone, and I think I made the right decision. At first I thought it looked like it was unfinished, but that is just all in my head because, like I said, I don't like having negative space on a page, but it just really pops those bright colours against the white background, so I'm glad I decided to leave it. I also ended up using just Prismacolors for this page, as well as the publisher information pages as well. So some of these elements, for example, the kraken, that was coloured in the book with Castle Arts, and this sort of serpent part here, that was coloured with luminance inside the book. But for ease of mind for myself, I decided to go with everything with Prismacolors, so I just did some conversions myself, and you can do that as well using my conversion chart. And that's it. There's no real sparkle on this page, I don't think. There's some, is that white jelly roll? And that's, oh yeah, there is some sparkle on the kraken here. And I did change up some of the colours too. So the kraken in the book, I think that was sort of black or grey, and same with the tentacles as well. And I just changed them up to match my colour palette more. So next up we have the publisher info pages. So like I mentioned on the previous page, I did take inspiration from the images in the book and just changed up some colour schemes to fit my palette. So for example, this is red in the book and I changed it to blue. I think this is like purple, green and yellow, so I changed it a bit just to have it fitting, because there was no other real purple colours on the page. I think that's, oh, and this was from the Yarly double page at the back, and that is a really colourful page, but I didn't want to add in all those extra colours, so I just went with just a straight grey for the background, for the stonework, sorry. I did do a background this time. Now, I didn't really want the writing to stand out so much, but then again, I wasn't trying to hide it either. I wanted it to be able to be visible and to be able to be read. So I think the cloud background is a good fit. And I believe I did a cloud background on the publisher pages in Worlds Within Worlds too. And that page also featured a big tree in it as well. Now, I have to say, despite these pages being a little tedious with all the pencil changes, it was absolutely so much fun to revisit my old colour alongs and see the growth from start to finish from the beginning of this book to now. And this was also the very last page coloured in this book, so the colour along for this one went up on the channel yesterday. Okay, so our first proper colouring page. Now this is McCool and Ben and Donna and the Giant's Causeway. Now bear in mind, I will most likely butcher a lot of the names from these mythologies. So I remember when I was colouring this page and I was umming and ahhing over the background. I think I even did a poll maybe in the Facebook group on whether to go bold and bright or a grey stormy sky. And I'm absolutely so glad I ended up going with these vibrant colours. I have noticed that I've been exploring more unusual colour palettes in more recent times instead of going for something more natural. And it just makes everything pop. I still love how this looks. And I used Neocolor 2 for the background and the clouds. And the rest was all Prismacolor pencils. These rocks took a long time. But I really, really do love the end result of this page still, and I love how bright and vibrant the colours are. Okay, next we have the White Stag. Now, whenever I look at this page, I think of the Netflix show Shadow and Bone. So this page was coloured prior to me starting to use mixed mediums more, so it was one of my earlier pages, and it is entirely pencil colouring. I think it was also one of my earlier attempts at making a cloudy sky just with pencils as well. Also, I hadn't really coloured too many white objects at this point. I do still really love the end result of this page. I love the colour palette. I think it's quite serene, but I do think I would colour the White Stag a little bit differently if I did it now. Now this grumpy guy over here, he is so cute. I ended up trying to match the colour palette for this page to the White Stag. So you can see the water is the same colour and the samurai's outfit matches with the purple leaves as well. This was an all pencil page with Prismacolor pencils. We do have some jelly roll glaze on the black parts here and some sort of sparkle silver pen. I'm not quite sure if that was it was probably a jelly roll silver at the time. It'll be in the colour along video, but it was either that or a sparkle pop, but you can hopefully see that little bit of shine. Okay, next up we have Thor. So another all pencil page with Prismacolors. So I was channeling my inner Chris Hemsworth for this one, and I think he actually looks fantastic. I love the mountains as well, or these hills. I do feel like there's too many shades of blue on this page. They're just kind of like fighting each other. I think either the water or the sky needed to change in tone to make it more cohesive. Probably the water, because that looks okay. Yeah, I think the water needed to be more of a deeper blue, just so it was more connected to the blue-purple tones in his outfit. But otherwise, I do still like this page. The Minakawa here, I love the colour palette from this page. I love the colours of the sky and how well they contrast with the rich greens and the mountains tops. Again, another pencil pick. So the ones that are fully pencils tend to be my earlier pages that I've completed in this book. But when did I colour this? Let me have a look. What page are we? Page 11. Yeah, 2022. So 27th of September 2022. So my earlier pages are most likely going to be the full pencil pages, because it was before I started using mixed media, before my journey into mixed media. So I really do like the colours on this page, and there is a bit of sparkle. I think that's Wink of Stella I've put on there. I think they're supposed to be like knives or something. I'll lift it up and show you. Can you see that sparkle? So, okay. Speaking of the early days, this is from the early days of me learning mixed media. For this one, I did colour with Prismacolor pencils for all the pencil work. The background is Neocolor 2. And I think for all these sort of like white splotches I've added here, it was either, I think it was white acrylic paint. Could have been gouache, but I think it was white acrylic paint. Now, if I could do this page over again, I wouldn't add the white splotches. That was my attempt at making it look hazy or smoky. I don't think it worked very well. I'd probably also colour the background maybe a different colour, just so it contrasts a bit more. I think it blends too much. I really do like the rest of the page. It's just that background, even just a plain black acrylic background would have maybe suited better, just to make the Typhon actually pop. I think he blends in with the background a little bit too much. But I love the volcano and the lava and the smoke here. Yeah, so my early days of Neocolor 2s. Okay, so I was asked what my favourite page was in this book that I've coloured. I've always found that hard to answer, as usually the last page I colour then ends up becoming a favourite until I colour the next page and that one becomes a favourite. However, this page was probably my favourite coloured page from the entirety of 2023. I love this page so much. I love the initial image before I coloured it. It was one of my favourite of the pages in this book, and I love the page then and I still love it now. And this is another full pencil double page. So when did I colour this? This would have been in 2022 as well, I'm guessing, because it is full pencil. The Kapper, 18th of May 2022, so a month into my colouring journey in Mythic World. I love the way this looks. I would not change a thing. I just absolutely adore this page. And 2 years later, love it just as much as I did when I first coloured it. The Kraken. This one was coloured with Castle Art pencils. The clouds are Distress ink. And again, I've tried this smudgy, misty thing. Did I, what page is this? Page 16. Did I colour this before I coloured the Typhon or after? Typhon was 30th of May. And the Kraken was the 23rd of May. So I coloured this one a week before I coloured the other one. So clearly I didn't learn my lesson after this. Look, I do like the idea, but it didn't execute well. I'm pretty sure this is white paint. I think if I'd used Distress ink, it would have worked out better. And honestly, a really dark blue Distress ink would have been even better than the white, just to add a bit of mystery as well to the water. Now my colour palette here is kind of a bit boring. I think the tentacles on the Kraken could have been a bit more of a contrast. And you'll notice that in the publisher pages, I think it was it the publisher ones? No. the nameplate. I did change it up a little bit with this sort of golden colour instead, and then I had the gold for the little spikes. Where this is sort of like a silvery green paint on the spikes. So I do think it needed a little bit more contrast. I probably could have brought some more colour into the sky instead, because I do like that the kraken is green, the water's blue. I mean, there's not too much going on this page, but I think I could have brought in some colour in the sky, maybe with a sort of a red to orange sunset or a pinky purple sunset. Not my favourite page in the book, but it was fun using Castle Arts. And I can see how I could improve this picture if I did do it again, which is awesome. It means I have learned something since I coloured it, but it doesn't take away from what I was doing back in 2022 either. So, yeah, now we've got the Baba Yaga, and this here was the very first page I coloured in this book. I still love it. I love the colour scheme, love how she turned out. I love my birch trees, and this was another full pencil page with prismas. I don't even think there's anything sparkly on here. No sparkle. Purely Prismacolor pencils. All right, next up we have the River Snake. And this page took so long to colour. It is entirely all in pencil. Giving now that I'm using a lot more mixed media, I probably would have used some watercolour or maybe some Neocolor twos on this page instead, just to break it up, because it did take so long. Although it did take forever, I was very happy with the end result. And I can tell this was an earlier page. As I've said, it is entirely with pencils. And also there is no sparkle. There's no sparkle. And also the colours are very natural as well. Like I mentioned earlier too, I am using a bit more out there colours. There's nothing really out of the box on this page. I remember being so pleased with this page when I first finished it. And I still think it's a great page, and I love the movement of the water. I love the colour of the river snake. I think it turned out really well. Oh gosh, okay, the bunyip page. So for everybody who has been following along, you'll know this is a recent page. I ignored this page for so very long. I had no idea what to do with it. There's just so much detail. There's just so much happening in this page. I ended up using Neocolor 2 for the background and for basing the bunyip on the top. I don't think I did it on the bottom. No, just for basing the bunyip on the top. And then I went over it with Prismacolor pencils. For the bottom, I used watercolor under the pencils just to give it the illusion of being underwater. Now, this was an idea that was sparked by something that Olivia Oderon actually said about making her London page in a Rita Berman book look gloomy. And I thought it might work for an underwater scene too. So I gave it a go, and I think it worked out quite well. This page was most definitely a labour of love though. I think the page turned out great after all that wait. I love the underwater effect, and I love the rich blue of the sky as well. But it was definitely a labour of love. Now, so with the Drook page here, you can see there was a little bit of a bleed through here from the watercolour on the bunyip page. Now, that was my fault for using a little too much water on those parts. So that's where I started with the watercolour, and I went in with way too much water. There's a little bit on this side too, not as much. Now, I could cover it. This background is only one coat of Neocolor 2s. I do usually do a second coat, so I could go in and it would cover it easily. So, I mean, I could fix it, but will I? Not likely. I think it just adds to the story of my book. I'm not here for perfection. It's all about the enjoyment as I colour the pages, and I don't feel the need to go back in and recolour anything. So I think I will leave it as it is. So like I said, it is a Neocolor 2 background with just one coat. So this is one of my earlier pages with Neocolor. Actually, I think it might have actually been my first Neocolor 2 background in this book. I think it was. So I was kind of just learning myself how to use the Neocolor 2s here. And the rest of the page is just Prismacolors. So although I do use Prismas a lot in this book, it's not on every page, not like Worlds Within Worlds where everything was Prismacolor, including all the backgrounds. So the earlier pages in this book I think are mostly all Prismacolors, but there are a few different pencils used here as well. So on the topic of Neocolor 2s, this is also a single coat background. Now, both these pages are from 2022. And like I said before, both of them were my first Neocolor 2 backgrounds that I've coloured in this book. I actually do like the softer look on this page. I think the colour palette is really pretty. It's really soft. I think the pages look great next to each other as well. However, let me show you the same Neocolor 2 background, but with 2 coats. So this is a single coat Neocolor 2 background. And this is the Chimera double page, and the background I've coloured using exactly the same colours as that one. Exactly the same colours, just that is 2 coats and that is a single coat. So you can see how much of a difference 2 coats make and how rich the colour comes. Also, can I just say, this is another of my favourite pages from this book. I really love the colour palette. It's one of my favourite colour palettes to use. And I love the richness and the vibrancy of the colours as well. I think this might be the first time I use my Kaiser Craft Gold Shimmer Spray too. And all the pencil work on this page is Prismacolor. I'll just lift it up so you can see that pretty golden shine, which I hope the camera is picking up. If I just tilt like that. And on the serpent there, that shine you can see is just Wink of Stella. Nothing underneath, just Wink of Stella. Okay, so next page. Okay, so this one I would do differently. Nothing is really popping on this page. This was an earlier page, so 2022 again. And like with the white stag page, I wasn't used to colouring white fur, so the horse I would do differently now. But I think the other elements would also look better if they were more vibrant, just to make the nicks pop. So everything seems to be kind of blending together at the moment. I do like my idea of adding in a rainbow, and I added that soft as well. So I was intentionally going for a soft page at the time that I coloured it, but I think it would work better now if it was if it had more depth and more vibrancy to the page. And the background here, I used distress watercolor pencils, the Tim Holtz distress watercolor pencils, but the rest of the page is Prismas and a whole heap of white gel pen on there as well. So if I did it again, I would obviously redo the white horse a bit better, the nicks. Is this the nicks? Yep. And I would deepen the greens and do the sky a bit different too, I think. Deepen the blues in the sky, just to make him stand out a bit more against the background. The Scafa, this one I really like. Again, this was an earlier page, I believe. It is completely Prismacolors and zero sparkle on this page as well, but I love the depth in this image with the vignette effect for the background. It is a very limited palette, but I think it just works for this page, and I really like the mood that I created on this one. So the finfolk, this is another page that I really love as well. The water is Neocolor 2. I actually really love the water here. I love the sort of movement the Neocolor 2s give to the water instead of being like a smooth blend. It gives it a little bit of movement. The clouds are Distress ink. That was one of my first times using my Distress inks. It was actually my first time in this book using Distress ink, so I was still learning how to use them properly. Everything else is Prismacolor pencils. It is just such a vibrant page. The colors are so rich. The palette is fairly limited, but it also allows the elements to really be seen and just pop as well. Oh gosh, okay, the Krillin, another absolute favorite from this book. I don't think I've ever been more proud of a page than I was when I first colored this one. At the time that I colored it, I was so absolutely in love with it. The background is Neocolor 2 and everything else is Prismacolor pencils. There is so much going on with this page, but I think it looks really cohesive, and I love the contrast of the blue and the red colors. So I still love this page. It is still one of my favorites. Yeah, and do we have any sparkle? Not really. This gold pen is... So it's not really a shiny, it's more of like a flat metallic. It is the gold Pen Touch pen. That was one of my favourite golds for a while back. I'll lift it up so you can see it. Yeah, it's not like a sparkly gold. It's not, I said flat. It's not really flat because it's shiny, but it's not glittery shiny, if that makes sense. Okay, the Three Fates, the Mirai. So this is a recent page and another one of these pages that I have just put up. I put it off for as long as I possibly could. It is so very detailed. I was seriously almost tempted to just black everything in the background out. Just get some acrylic paint and black it all out. So how I ended up tackling it instead, it's kind of similar to a few other pages you'll see further in the book as well. I basically based all the greenery with one colour, and then I used a couple of other greens just to add in some extra shadow. So I wasn't colouring each individual detail, each leaf. It was just a base colour with some shading added on top as well. Now I have used that technique on a few of Kerby's busy backgrounds and it ends up saving so much time as well as my sanity, and I think it's quite effective as well. I really love how the clockwork turned out. I do like my sort of moody sky over here as well. The whole thing really, it's high on my favourites list for sure. And the whole page was coloured with Prismacolor pencils, even though it is a more recent page. We do have some Sparkle Pop, some Jelly Roll, and some White Signo on the page too. Now, the Kumaho, another full pencil page with Prismacolors, another one high on my favourites list as well. I just really enjoy the colour palette on this page, particularly the contrast of the foxtail against the deep blue background. I love those colours together. I think they just look really, really pretty together. So yeah, another one high on my favourites list. I love these two pages next to each other. I think they look really pretty. Okay, the Baki Kajira. So this background is entirely Neocolor 2s. And the rest is Prismacolor. So the water is Prismacolor, the background is all Neocolor 2, and the whale and all the fish is Prismacolor as well. So I went for a limited palette for this page. Originally, this one had me stumped trying to figure out how to colour it, but I'm really happy with it, and I think it does suit a limited palette. Yeah. Okay, another colour palette I really enjoyed. This is the It's Papalotto page. Now this page was coloured with polychromo pencils and Neocolor 2s for the background, and of course we have some Kaisercraft shimmer spray that I need to show you. So we've also got the Jelly Roll metallic and the Lightwish super golden markers on this page too. Jelly Roll glaze as well. I'm hoping we are catching that shimmer spray. You'll see the shimmer spray a lot because I have an obsession with it at the moment. So when I first looked at this page, it seemed pretty crazy, pretty busy, and it was another one that I was putting off colouring for as long as I possibly could. But I've kind of ignored a lot of Kerby's patterns when block coloured lots of the pieces in here. A little bit like what I do with Joanna Basford's flowers sometimes, or even in Millie Marotta's pictures. We don't always have to colour each element individually. Block colouring also works as well. I do love this colour palette too. So this one is another Polychromos picture. The entire pic is Polychromos with a little distress ink just to add some background shadows here as well. Another limited palette, but I think it works perfectly for this page. Also, I just want to mention that I did look up the myths to see if there was information on what the people or the creatures were meant to look like before I coloured the pages, but I didn't always follow the myths. Sometimes I kept some similarities and others I decided to completely change. It all depended on what suited my colour palette. So, I mean, they're myths. They don't have to be realistic. There is no realism, it's a myth. So I just coloured how I wanted to colour the pages. Okay, we've got the Yaksha. Another page entirely coloured with Prismacolors. There's nothing too special about this page. It looks good. Nothing too interesting about it, I don't think. This page though, I really like. I love the colour palette, but I especially love how his skin turned out too. And this was all Prismas as well. There is some sparkle dotted around. I think it's mainly stickles. So I'll lift it up to show you. And hopefully it's picking up the sparkle on those barrels. I really enjoyed colouring this page actually. It was quite a quick one to colour. Okay, so this one I kept to a limited palette. I know what I was thinking and I know what I was trying to do at the time, and I did achieve that look, but I think I'd do it different if I was given a second chance. I would keep the mountains. I really like how the mountains turned out. The houses as well, I think. I'd even keep the bull and the bird and the sky. I think I would change the dragon and the giant and the clouds as well, just to bring in some more colours to the page. Maybe even the water, to deepen the colours in the water as well. Yeah, I don't think a limited palette was the best choice for this page, but it was what I was trying to achieve at the time. But I think it could have been better differently. When did I colour this? Page 40. This has surely got to be an early one. Oh, August 2023, so not that early actually. It's just last year. Okay. All right, so this one is another favourite. This is the Griffin double page. I don't know how many favourites I'm up to now, but I just can't pick only one. This one was Prismacolor pencils, Inktense, and Neocolor 2. So Neocolor 2 for the background, and I'm pretty sure I used Inktense for basing. Actually, I might have just used Inktense only for the ground and basing for the mountains. The clouds are Inktense, and then I've gone over the top with my Prismacolor pencils to add shading. So as I mentioned earlier, my work these days include more unusual palettes, or I don't know if I'd even call it unusual, just different colours that are a bit outside of the box for me personally. So I was originally tempted to have these mountains all snowy, a blue sky, but everything was going to turn out grey and blue. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. It would have still looked good, but I really wanted to just bring in some colour. So I went for more of a kind of sunset effect, I guess, for the sky. And purple clouds. I did pause before I went in with the purple clouds to decide whether I really was going to risk it, because I did really love the colour page up to that point, and I wasn't quite sure if I was about to ruin it or not. I was tossing up sort of a dirty orange cloud, more like a smoke from the volcano instead, but purple and orange contrast so beautifully together, so I just went with my gut. And I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'm always the opinion of most things can be fixed. What's the worst that can happen? You will learn something. So sometimes you just got to run with those crazy ideas and see what happens. And I also brought in the greens as well to add more colour, and of course the water as well. Okay, another full Prismacolor pencil page. We've got lots of white gel pen on here as well. And I think that silver is probably the Jelly Roll silver. I don't think I had Sparkle Pops at the time that I coloured this. Page 41. This one was... Nope, page 42. Is that 42? Where am I? Gosh, I can't even read the page numbers anymore. Page 44, page 45. I haven't written the date on this one. I'll have to go back and write it. I think this is probably an earlier page. All Prismacolor pencils. Now I love the green popping against the orange background. And funnily enough, we've got the green and the orange on this page too. So what a coincidence. I do like the end result of this page. Not my favourite, but I don't see anything wrong with this one. Okay, so the trolls. I do like this page. It is a little bit boring though, I think. Maybe I could have brought in some more depth of colour through the sky perhaps. I mean, you've got water and rocks and sky. There's not that much you can do here with it, rather other than go sort of unnatural colours, I guess. But I could have brought in some colour through the sky, maybe lightened up the trolls a little bit to give them a little bit more of a contrast between depth and between shadow and light as well. Yeah, maybe brought in some colour and made the water a bit murky and mysterious as well, I guess. But yeah, I don't dislike the page. It's just, it's there. The Phoenix. Now, I think this turned out quite nice actually. This is another early example of me basing and adding shadows as well instead of colouring each individual element. And I do quite like how this one turned out. Another early page, I think, and entirely Prismacolor pencils. There's a little bit of that gold pen touch on there. And that's it, no real sparkle. All right, another full Prismacolor page. I thought I used a lot more different pencils in this book. Maybe they're still to come. I do quite like the end result. I actually think the clouds might be Tim Holtz Distress watercolor pencils, but the rest is all Prismacolor pencils. Yeah, that's definitely the Tim Holtz Distress watercolor pencils. And we have, I don't know if this is Sparkle Pop or Jelly Roll on there as well. And we've got some Jelly Roll, is that Jelly Roll Metallic? Actually, I think that's the Pen Touch Gold again. So I do like the end result of that page. The Sphinx, this is another page that I left for closer to the end. And when I looked at this page, I just kept seeing sand and the Sphinx. And it took me some time to work out how to bring some interest into this page. The sky was Neocolor 2s, and I did add some touch of sort of purple throughout the blues as well. And then I brought the purple also through to the pyramids as well, just to give a deep shadow. I do like to add shadows without using black or greys, so I added purples to the pyramids to add in some shadow. Originally I had thought about white wings and fair hair, but with the richness of colour in the other elements, I found that darker colours suited the page more. Even though there's so many similar colours on this page though, I still think each element stands out without bringing too much difference, too much contrast to the page. So other than the sky, the rest is all Prismacolor pencils, and this is also one of my favorite pages too. Now we have the Mami Wata page, and this one was colored with luminance pencils. I love her skin tone. I think it turned out great. The background is Posca acrylic paint pens, and I think the color matches really well. I mean, even looking at these pages now, I can see different interpretations in my mind. I'm picturing this page with reds and greens, a bright blue background, or even a nice sort of sunset yellow background. I find that quite fascinating that I could colour all of these pages again and choose completely different colour schemes for them and still love them. There's just so many different ways to interpret and perceive a page, and I think sometimes our choices can be representative of our state of mind or our life, things happening in our life at that moment in time. It's like a snapshot in time. And I guess what I mean by that is if you're influenced by seasons, for example, or the weather, you might colour the same page differently if you're working on it in spring as you would if you're working on it in winter. And if you're going through a difficult period in life, you may choose different colours than if you're going through a happy, exciting time. And I think that's just really fascinating. And that's one of the things when you look back and you get those memories of what you were thinking and feeling as you colour those pages. Okay, the Sharoof. I think it's okay. Not one of my favourite pages, but I don't dislike it either. It is entirely Prismacolors again with a black Posca background. The Rainbow Serpent. Now this one was really fun to colour actually. The background and the clouds are all Neocolor too. The rest of the page is Prismacolor. There's the Artex Sympatap marker, the gold one, on these little details. And I've used Art paint pens, I think. Yes, Art paint pens on the water, and also to cover the black lines on the sort of rocky mountains or rocky hills as well. And I think that silver would be the Sparkle Pop by how shimmery that looks. I really do love this page. Okay, so this is Alkanos and Gamayan. Oh, I told you I was going to start butchering those names. I love this page. It was coloured with Polychromos pencils, and I did keep it to a limited palette. The background is the Artex soft pastels. I love the gradient. I love how smooth it is. And also check out the sparkle from the Imagine Crafts Sheer Shimmer Mist. Can you see all that? It just looks so pretty and shiny. That Imagine Craft Sheer Shimmer Mist is just so delicate. It's very fine and delicate. But it gives the whole page sort of this glossy, shiny look as well. So it's not, I probably don't think I'd say it is a favourite, but it is definitely high up there. It's very well loved. Okay, so the Engate. This is another one of those pages that has had that detailed leafy backgrounds again, like the Fates page, like the Phoenix page. So the background is Neocolor 2 and the rest is Prismacolors. For the foliage, all this greenery down the bottom here, I laid down a base and then added in shading over the top, just like I did with the Fates and the Phoenix. This was an earlier page. But yeah, what I was trying to do as well is get that foliage to appear more in the background as well. I didn't really want it to stand out. I wanted her to stand out and everything else kind of just to fade away a bit. So I think I achieved that. And next we have the Varangian here. Now these black feathers took a while to colour. The whole page is Prismacolor pencils and I am left-handed, so I work from left to right because that black can get a bit smudgy. I think it looks really good. I'd probably do the eyeball a little bit different if I was to colour this again, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. The Prickolici and Strigoi. So this one was one of my favourite images in this book. When I first got this book, I fell in love with this page. And I actually really like how I coloured it. The background is Neocolor 2, so all the purple is Neocolor 2. The rest is Prismacolor pencils. I can see a little bit of colour transfer actually here on the moon. And look, I've added in this mist again. It actually works well on this page though, I think. Maybe not so much on this side, but I think it actually looks really good. The effect actually looks quite good on this page. Yeah. All right, next up we have the 4 Guardians, and this one I really enjoyed colouring. There's not too many different colours on this page. I wanted more of a richness and depth to the colours without the boldness. So we have the burnt oranges rather than a bright flaming red, for example, on the Phoenix, and it contrasts so nicely with the blues. You'll have seen me use this a few times in the book with this sort of burnt orange and the blue as well. I really do like those colours together. So the background is Neocolor 2s, everything else is Prismas. I think I should have probably added in some paint pens just to reduce or remove the black lines on the water and possibly the clouds here as well. I think that would have made the tiger pop a little bit more. But I do love this page and it sparkles as well. This is, what did I use here? Is it silver or gold? I think it's gold. Yeah, it's gold. Gosh, I'm gonna get my eyes checked. That'll be the Kaiser Craft Shimmer Spray. Okay, now I can see it really well on the turtle. Yeah, it's definitely gold, guys. I'm going blind. So we've got Isis next, and I think she may just make my favourites list. I do absolutely love how I coloured her makeup, her eyes here especially. I love that little sparkle that I put on her eyelids. I think that was Stickles, but look at that shine all over the page. So this one was coloured with Prismacolor pencils and that background is Neocolor 2s, and I think that sort of black grey background just adds to the mood of the page. And of course I love the gold shimmer spray from Kaiser Craft as well. Now the Nocken page, this was a favourite when I coloured it. Probably not up there in my favourite list right now. I do still love the page, but there's so many others that I would put higher above this one now. I love the pretty spring colour scheme. I think for such a gory page, I love when pages are a little bit more creepy and I use pretty colour schemes. I think it just makes it less creepy. So I think it looks really cohesive. I love his deep green hair. Yeah, I like we've got some movement to the water here with our colours. Okay, The rainbow fish. This was another of those pages that I flipped past a few times before I got a spark of inspiration. Now, trying to come up with an idea to represent the different weather systems while still keeping it cohesive. It was challenging, but I think I achieved that in the end. Rather than having like, so this is supposed to be grass up the top here. So I was trying to figure out what tone of green would work for grass, and it's more like a blue than a green, so it's not really a natural grass color, but I think it works. We've got these sort of icy crystals, we've got our storm, but instead of putting like a dark background, I've used a blue background, and then our little fiery oranges go well with the reds here as well. So the whole background here, so the sky, the clouds, and the water are all Neo Color 2s, and everything else is Prismacolor pencils. All right, so this is the Groot slang, and it is a very good example of me reading the mythology and completely ignoring it. So in my head, I pictured this page quite icy and snowy, so that's the effect I went for. That's how I coloured it, despite the fact that it's meant to represent cave systems in South Africa. I can actually picture this with a warm palette, with rich reds, rich browns. The Groot slang maybe contrasting with an emerald green, a beautiful deep emerald green. But this was a look that I was going for at the time, and I executed it the way that I had pictured it. So not a favourite, but it did turn out exactly how I wanted to at that time. All right, so this is the Oni page, and he was coloured with Black Widows. This is not a colour palette I tend to lean towards. I don't often use purple and pinks, as you've probably noticed throughout the book. I do think it suits him though. So it's all Black Widows. There is sort of this pearl effect paint, so it's like a clear paint that you put over your coloured elements and it gives it a pearl-like finish. So that's on top of the skulls. And we have, I think that's a Jelly Roll glaze clear on his eyes. And next up we have Hecaton, and this is another page I left until I was nearing the finish line. I have imagined so many different colour palettes in my head for this page. None of them really excited me. I did ask a few times what colour people think I should use, and I gave a few examples of what I was thinking, and I ended up going with something completely different than what I had been thinking. So this palette is actually quite a favourite of mine. It is autumnal tones, and I love colouring autumnal tones. And he is coloured with Prismacolor pencils. No, he's not. He's coloured with Polychromos pencils. It is all Polychromos pencils, and the background is Neo Color 2. And we have the gold Kaisercraft Shimmer Mist to make it nice and sparkly. There's the Jelly Roll glaze you'll see in black, and also some Jelly Roll metallics, I think. And what did I use here? That's the Artex acrylic paint pens to reduce the black lines. Okay, the Puka page. This page was also coloured with Polychromos pencils. And the background is acrylic paint pen, a black acrylic paint pen. There is a little bit of sparkle through here. I can't remember what I used, but just to add a little bit of sparkle to his fur, I would say it's probably a Jelly Roll. And there's a lot of white gel pen on the sort of wheat stalks there. This page here, I really love. I had so much fun colouring this page. The background is watercolour paint as well as the clouds. The rest is Prismacolor pencils, another limited palette, but I think it is so effective. There is so much shine and sparkle on this page too. Let me lift it up. So you can see the Kaisercraft Shimmer Spray in the background. There is gold pen touch pen, and that's stickles on the flowers of her outfit. I love the colour of her outfit. I love the skin. I love her hair. I love the background. And of course I love the sparkle. So when I coloured the background with the watercolours, it did bleed through around the edges a little bit, mostly from the paper I placed behind for protection. move it around. And I'm going to have to find a way to clip it so it stays still next time and I don't get those smudges. But because of that, I had to come in and colour this page straight away to make sure I could cover over the paint. I was panicking that maybe I wouldn't be able to cover over it because it was quite dark. But I think I hid it really well. So I don't know if you can notice. I can, but it's hidden quite well. I can see a little bit of the paint here, a little bit here. Some of it was covered here with the black hair, and there's a little bit here on that leaf as well. But it's barely noticeable. I love how this page turned out. This is definitely another favourite of mine. It's high on the favourites list. What did I use here? This was Neocolor 2 for the entire background. I think even all the leaves I may have based. Did I base the leaves with Neocolor 2s? I can't remember. The background is all Neocolor 2, this, all the greenery. I don't know about the leaves. The leaves might be Prismacolors. Everything else is Prismacolors. We do have some, I think it's CSY paint and some black jelly roll glaze. And we have, what do you call it? Glossy accents. We have glossy accents on the eyes and the teeth. So you might be able to see that. You can see the jelly roll glaze in the red and the black as well. And some gold jelly roll. Lots of gold jelly roll actually on this page. So I think this turned out beautifully in the end. The colour choices were kind of determined by the paint bleed through, and I think it worked out really well. Okay, the Gothic Grotesques. This is definitely a favourite. I loved this image the minute I flipped through this book for the very first time, and I really wanted to do this page justice because I loved it so much. So I did really leave this to the last minute. I also wanted to bring some colour through I didn't want it to just be all grey stonework. So I did originally envision stained glass windows with different colours reflecting off the stonework. Instead, I went for the warm golden colours. I feel this is a busy page and I didn't want to detract from the other elements by adding to that busyness. So I went with more of a mellow colour, and I do adore the final image. And it's not the most exciting colour palette, but it is one of my favourite pages. I love, love, love the end result. Okay, Jorogumo. This was an old one, I believe. And I have ended up with a little bit of a mark down here too. This mark is from the silver paint here where I've added a little bit too much water. Not a big deal. I could colour over it again with the pencils to lighten the mark, but I'm likely just to leave it as it is. And this page was coloured entirely with Prismacolor pencils. We do have, I think that's the Pen Touch Gold. And I think I've used a silver. It must be the, do I have a Pen Touch silver? Yeah, I think it must be the silver Pen Touch on the cobwebs. Yeah, and the different details. So this page here, this beautiful mermaid page, is also entirely Prismacolor pencils. I love the colour selection for this page, and when I coloured her, she was absolutely one of my favourite pages. This was an early one too, I believe, as there's no mixed media or sparkle. Let me have a quick look. What page am I looking at this time? 79. Oh, here we go. 4th of May 2022. So in the very first couple of weeks of me starting this book, was probably the 2nd or 3rd page I coloured. I still love it. There are other ones higher on my favourites list, but I do still love this page. I love, love that colour palette too. I love how she turned out. Okay, the Bedouin page. Now, I think this was an earlier page too. The background here is soft pastels. I believe I used one colour all over. It really could have done with some more shadow to add some dimension to it. So a few different blues perhaps. Overall, not a bad page. It's not my favourite. Those flowers though, they were a pain to colour. They were an absolute pain. They were a labour of love to colour. But the rest of it I enjoyed colouring, and I do like the colour palette. I think when I originally flipped through this book, I said I was going to colour it with reds and greens. Yeah, I don't know why I changed my mind, but I do like that palette. All right, this is the Yali double page. Now, the background is all Prismacolor pencils, and I love how smooth and well blended the background is, and it really brightens the page. It really brings the sunshine to the page. There is a lot going on color-wise for this page, so it isn't my favorite, but the temple that this was based off is very colorful as well. So I did try to keep somewhat similar to the myth for this one. I was very happy to see the back of this page though. It was probably my least favorite color in the book. The Warble Dragon. If I was to redo this page, I'd probably use Neocolor 2s rather than the black acrylic paint for the background, just to add some movement, maybe create a smoky effect from the fire of our dragon. It is a very flat and one-dimensional background. I maybe also would have graduated the blue on his scales into another tone and then brought that tone through to the fireballs as well. But overall, I do like the page. And last but not least, we have Atlas, the very last colouring page in the book, and the very last colouring page that I coloured in the book as well, not including the nameplate and the publisher pages, of course. Again, this is another one I flipped past and I put off until I had to do it. And when I say that, it's not because I don't like the image, it's because I can't picture them complete in my head. Usually I flip through a book until I can see a page completed in my mind, and that's the one I'll choose to colour. This one I just kept flipping past because I just couldn't picture it coloured. But this is a Neocolor 2 background and Prismacolors again. I love the richness and the depth of colour, especially in that background. It's beautiful, those beautiful deep blues, one of my favourite colours. And this one has some sparkle on it too. This has got the Imagine Crafts Shimmer Spray in sparkle. So I love how that one turned out. And that, my friends, is the final page. It's actually such a bittersweet moment now that it's all come to an end. I'm so very happy to have completed this book and to be able to flip through and see what I've accomplished over the last couple of years, and to see the growth and improvement in my own journey as well. Also, for me, when I look back at pages, I remember what I was doing at the time, what I was watching or listening to, and things like that. So they just bring back memories as well. And having said all that, I am so going to miss colouring in this book as well. Can I also just say a big thank you to everyone who has joined me on this journey. All of the support for my pages, every like, every comment is so very much appreciated. And I do read all your comments and I do try to reply to all of them as well. So a big thank you to everybody. And I absolutely love seeing all of your pages come to life as well. I know there's quite a few people who are following along with each page in this book too, and I really look forward to seeing your completed books as well. Now, if you are interested in me chatting with you all about what my future plans are for the channel now that this full book colour along has been completed, let me know down below and I can do a little colour and chat and share my thoughts with you all. So for the final time in Mythic World by Kerby Rosanes, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.